Welcome back to another video. I'm probably the third and hopefully last video in this series about sobriety. Maybe I'll talk about it more in the future. But yeah, this is the one that I was actually really looking forward to talking about, and it is about straight edge. But yeah, what is straight edge? Let's get into it. I'm sure there's a plethora of videos out there on the internet that really break down straight edge and the straight edge movement, and there's tons of Google and I'm sure Reddit threads and all this stuff about it. But essentially, straight edge is how can I put it simply? It's basically an anti-drug, anti-alcohol stance, and the hardcore punk scene that was started back in the 80s by a band called Minor Threat.
First of all, straight edge is a movement that comes out of hardcore music that is based in self-respect and respect for others through the abstinence of and opposition to drug use.
Yes.
Now, some people incorporate veganism into the straight edge. Some people incorporate non-promiscuous sex into the straight edge. I'm not one of those people. However, I do very strongly agree with the ethos of not being inebriated. Oh, also, you don't smoke tobacco, that too. So I don't smoke cigarettes, I don't drink alcohol, I don't do recreational drugs. So yeah, obviously I have to take medicine sometimes for my headaches. You know, I take pain medicine and all that, but I'm not abusing Tylenol. I'm not, I don't do recreational drugs. But I actually have a bunch of talking points I wanted to talk about for this because I was ready to make this video a couple days ago. So yeah, but I want to also say something too about straight edge, that I don't think everyone needs to be straight edge. I do think that people would benefit from straight edge ideology, but as a non-religious person, I'm afraid of people taking it too far to a dogma. This is my own personal philosophy that I've decided to live my life by. And if you like it, I encourage you to learn more about it. If it sounds good to you and you want to know, that's fine. But I think you do have to like hardcore punk. So if you don't like, screamo music, you can just, agree with straight edge and you don't have to necessarily be straight edge. But, let's get into it. All right, well, why straight edge and why not sober? Point number one. All right, let me check this off. Yeah, that makes my ADHD feel good. All right, well, once again, sobriety is great. I love sobriety. I love that community, and I think I have more in common with sober people. But I chose to be straight edge so I could acknowledge my hardcore influences when I was a child. Well, I guess a teen. One of my favorite bands was AFI, still AFI. And shout outs to Jade. Jade, I remember the conversation you and I had in the DMs and Instagram towards the end of last year, and I would love to send you some more of the Jupiter Garden demos. So, but yeah, so I remember the first time I seen the video, the Leaving Song Part 2. The one with all dancing hard in the video, and I saw the X's on the hands. I thought that was so cool. I didn't know what the it was because it was 2002, 3, and the internet was still running on GeoCities and things of that nature. But I clearly knew it was called straight edge, and I thought that was so cool. But at that time I thought, well, I'm gonna drink at some point, obviously, duh. But yeah, Davey and Havoc are straight edge, and I think they're both vegan as well. They're like vegan edge and all that. But that was one of my first times ever learning about straight edge. Luckily, I came of age in the mid-2000s where, they had all the post-hardcore, hardcore, metalcore, all that scene blew up. And people started talking about straight edge and other things. So I was very quickly clued in to straight edge. But yeah, so for me, I'm sober, but straight edge just takes it one step further. The philosophy of it too. I do believe the world would be better off without alcohol, and I think it would be better off without recreational drug use. But I'm a realist enough to know that I can't stop people from doing those things. And I wouldn't want to live in a society with draconian laws that outlaw those things because something's gonna give. There might be some kind of weird underbelly of society that springs up to replace it. So I know that from a legal and practical point of view, it's not practical to try to eradicate all those things from the world. However, for me and my life, I can eradicate that. So I don't smoke weed. I don't know if CBD is okay or not. I don't really care. I'm not into it like that. But I don't smoke weed. I live in Japan, so it's really hard to do that out here anyways. I don't do crack. Never done crack. Never done meth. None of that stuff. No heroin. Nothing. But also, I don't drink alcohol. So and I think being in Japan, that's a bit more radical than it would be in the West, because drinking culture out here is quite all-encompassing, which I'll talk about a little bit more. But yeah, sorry. I'm straight edge as opposed to sober because, I just believe in dedicated sobriety. All right. Now, let's talk about why I am straight edge, but I still drink non-alcoholic beers and wine. Now, once again, as I said before, I'm an atheist and I don't care for dogma. So I don't care for dogmatic people in the straight edge scene who, want to have the 10 Commandments and all these things. For me, I adhere to the strict principles of it. No intoxication. So no alcohol, no recreational drug use. That's it. I'm not doing that. I want to have my mind. I want to be sharp. I want to be clear. I don't want to be able to be taken advantage of. I don't believe in, that you have to be trashed to be part of the counterculture. But the thing is, I need to also mention that I live in Japan, and Japan is different than the West. So, I haven't lived in America in about 12 years. And then before that, I was heavily influenced by Japan because I was coming back and forth. I lived in Japan for a couple of years before that. I came back in 2012, and I haven't been back to America since, I think one time. But yeah, I live in Japan, so Japan is not America. So I think that maybe Americans have more of a puritanical view of alcohol and alcoholic beverages than Japan does. Japan doesn't really have, we weren't Puritans out here. It's more of a Buddhist culture, and I guess Confucianism to a certain extent. Not as Confucianist as, say, like Korea or China, but, still Japan was influenced by that too. But we didn't have Puritans out here. We had them in America, but not out here. So what I'm saying is that there's no, I guess, stigma around beers and wine and alcoholic beverages the same way you might have them in the West. I know I have a lot of sober friends in America who they stop drinking beer and then they start drinking Coca-Cola. Or like they start drinking a lot of soda, which to me is, yeah, on one hand, you're not getting drunk, but it's basically going from one poison to another poison, especially in America because you have high fructose corn syrup and everything. So it's like you're giving your body a break from alcohol, but now you're putting all this other bullshit in your body from drinking sodas. Okay. But for me, I don't want to drink soda. I don't like soda. I don't want to drink juice. I mean, juices are fine if it's like 100% fruit juice and all that stuff, but I just eat fruits. I've got a fruit bowl over here. I look like a Renaissance painter and stuff. But yeah, I eat fruits on the daily to, get my vitamin C and things of that nature. But one of the reasons why I like to drink non-alcoholic beer is because there's none of that bullshit in it that you might have in sodas. Non-alcoholic beer is, very, very low calorie, oftentimes 0 calories, very low sugar count. And also, I will say this. If you drink a 0.05% beer or something of that nature, it's almost as much alcohol as like a piece of fruit. So don't let that, fool you into thinking that's an alcoholic beer. I think proper product reading comprehension is important. Now, I'm not saying that straight edge people need to drink non-alcoholic beers if they don't want to. No, of course not. But what I am saying is that drinking non-alcoholic beers and drinking non-alcoholic, I guess, wine products that aren't really wine is not breaking edge. Because the beverage itself is not the problem. The alcohol is the problem. If there's no alcohol, you're not breaking edge. But also at the same time, the amount of alcohol is important. If I eat this apple, there's alcohol in here, just natural alcohol in here. Am I breaking edge? No, because I'm not eating an apple to try to get inebriated. I could eat 1,000 apples and I just get sick. I wouldn't get inebriated. Same thing with very low amount of alcohol beers. That you have to have a certain amount that you don't cross to be considered non-alcoholic. But you can have like 0.5% or something. But that'd be like, once again, trying to drink 1,000 of those to get trashed. It's gonna get sick and be peeing for days. So once again, it's not the beverage, it's the alcohol that breaks edge. But once again, I understand that some straight people don't want to drink, especially Americans. American people, very puritanical and our beliefs. And yeah, fine. But I'm going to talk about, once again, why I specifically like to drink non-alcoholic beverages in Japan and the cultural reasons behind why I do that. So once again, as I said 1,000 times, I live in Japan. Yay! Japan has a drinking problem. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. It's quite common in East Asian countries for the population to have a drinking problem because of the stress and all that. But more than just that, kind of the expectation that is on you to drink. When I started drinking back in America, it's just assumed I was going to drink based on the media that I consumed and, the cultures and celebrations around it. When I came to Japan, obviously, it was a given that I was going to drink because you just did. So I was in two cultures that kind of pushed alcohol. I don't want to say pushed, but I was in two cultures that heavily encouraged you to drink, but in two different ways. So I guess you start drinking by osmosis, if you will. But let's go back to that. So for me, like living in Japan, alcohol is used as a social lube. We have this term called nomication, which is like a portmanteau of the word nomu, which is to drink in Japanese, in communication. So, there's the image of Japanese people being very reserved and being very, I guess, kind of holding the true emotions back. But the thing is, Japanese people, they have emotions, they have desires, and they have thoughts that they think. They're human, everyone does. But the way Japanese, even the language is set up, there's not a lot of opportunities for you to just say what you want, like in the West. Once again, I'm not saying one system is good or bad, I'm just saying it's a give and take. Japan's very safe. Well, one of the things you have to give up for that is the rugged individualism that you have in America, and vice versa. But with that being said, when the beers come out, when the alcohol comes out, it's kind of an excuse to just kind of let yourself be more authentic, to, be more expressive, even if you're not drinking. I've gone to soccer viewing parties, and I've had friends who don't drink, who still were more outgoing, because oh, everyone's drinking now? Okay, so socially, we are now in a position where we can be open. Yay! So even if you don't drink alcohol, you find people be more outgoing if there's this alcohol around in Japan. So there's that. Japan also doesn't have a recreational drug use culture. Now, I'm not saying it's zero, but it's very hard to get recreational drugs out here. And on top of that, Japan hasn't legalized weed, and I hope Japan doesn't. And I don't think they'll be able to handle it. It's been so long now, you might as well just not have it. But also, if you smoke weed out here in Japan, people look at you like you smoke meth. It's that foreign to the average Japanese person. So there's no recreational drug uses out here at all. So, alcohol takes the place of that. So, once again, as I mentioned, you could buy alcohol, 24/7 wherever you want. There used to be vending machines that sell alcohol back in the day when I first started coming here, when I was in my teens. But yeah, alcohol is widespread because there's no recreational drug use culture. All right, and number, let's just keep going. Another reason why I like to drink non-alcoholic beers in Japan, another reason why non-alcoholic beers are spreading in Japan is because, ironically, a lot of Japanese people can't drink. A lot of them have an allergy to alcohol. I think there's some science behind the notion that East Asians, they're missing one enzyme that breaks down the alcohol. That's why they have, Asian flush and all that. Some people just flat out can't drink. I've met several people, men and women, who just can't drink alcohol. They just can't, they get sick. So they just don't drink it. But you can only drink soda and oolong cha for so long. You know what I mean? You go out with your mates, you go out with your workmates, and everyone's like, oh, kampai, yeah, cheers. And you're just like, I've got Coca-Cola, yay. Or I've got oolong tea, yay. You only do that for so long. So you kind of want to feel like, you're part of the crowd. You're having fun. You want something frothy, something that looks like beer. So I can understand that notion. And two, alcohol companies don't just sell alcohol. For example, Kirin, they have their hand in everything. I think Coca-Cola has a distribution plan with, Kirin or another Japanese company, but that doesn't really matter. What I'm saying is that even if I didn't buy alcohol from Kirin, let's say I bought Ku, that's a little drink, or I bought some oolong cha, or I bought bottled water, that's still going to be under the Kirin Corporation umbrella. So that money is still going to go to Kirin for them to use to make other products, whether it be alcoholic products or non-alcoholic products. So either way, I'm still giving my money to corporations that make booze to some extent. So there's that. So now, why do I drink non-alcoholic beer and why do I drink non-alcoholic wine? Because I want those to be available. I want to live in a society where people have more options than just standard alcoholic beverages. I like non-alcoholic beer. I like the way it tastes. I like non-alcoholic wine sometimes. My wife and I drink it to feel fancy, whatever. However, I want these companies to know that, hey, there's a market for this. Keep making more. I want the restaurants and the retailers and the venues that I go to know, oh, hey, some customers will buy these products. So let's keep them in stock. I live, not too far from some restaurants. And every restaurant I can go to now around me, they have at least one or two non-alcoholic beers on their menu. And yeah, I buy it because I want them to keep stocking it. So that's one of the main reasons why I drink non-alcoholic beers. And that might be the main reason, because I like them and I want them to be more widely available. And once again, for the thousandth time, I live in Japan. I can only talk about this from a Japanese point of view because I don't live in the States. I don't know what the scene is like in the States. I don't care, but I just don't know. But please let me know what the scene is like out there. Are non-alcoholic beers or non-alcoholic beverages, are they, having a renaissance? I know that people are more sober curious out in the States and out in the West, maybe dry January, things of that nature. And non-alcoholic beverages I think for some people, they can be a really good tool to help you get through those months of, just quitting alcohol. Maybe you might go back to drinking in a couple of months, but you just want to, quit alcohol for a while. Then yeah, a non-alcoholic beer would be good for you. However, I think if you're coming off a full-blown addiction, I would stay away from non-alcoholic beers for a while until maybe, you're at a place where you actually are certain that you don't like the alcohol that these products may or may not remind you of. You know what I mean? So for me, I know I don't like alcohol, so I'm free to drink these drinks without getting a craving, I guess, for the real thing, because I have a distaste for alcohol that I made sure I established before I claimed Edge back in 2021 again. So the end of 2021. Yeah, I think I mentioned in the last video. I tried booze twice throughout my first year of sobriety just to make sure that I had a distaste for the beer. To make sure that I had a distaste for beers and wines and alcoholic drinks that included alcohol in them. And once I was able to double check and cement that I did have a distaste for alcohol, I claimed Edge because, that's it. I don't want to claim Edge and then break it later on. So I was like, all right, I'm claiming Edge now. This is me. I'm straight edge. Let's go. Because, I don't care for recreational drugs. And I have a renewed hatred for alcohol. So in a nutshell, why do I drink non-alcoholic beers even though I'm straight edge? Well, one, culturally I live in Japan and there's a huge drinking culture out here. And two, I like the taste of beer. I like the taste of wine. But I despise being drunk. And three, I want those products to be more available. I want more people to drink non-alcoholic beers. I want more people to choose that option. In Japan, you can't drink and drive at all. You can't have a glass of beer and drive. You can't. So many people in Japan have a history with non-alcoholic beers when they be out with their family or they be out driving. So that's that already. As I mentioned, people who can't drink alcohol, instead of having Coca-Cola, which is other type of poison, or having, tea or whatever, they can now have, a little frothy beer so they can feel like they're part of the crowd, even though it's non-alcoholic. So I want these products to be available not just for me, but for other people who live in Japan. And I need to support these corporations with my hard-earned yen. Because they're gonna get my money regardless. So at least I want them to get my money from buying their non-alcoholic offerings. All right, I hope that makes sense. I hope I wasn't rambling too long. But straight edge is great. I would encourage you all to look more into straight edge. If you don't like hardcore punk, you can still align yourself with the values of straight edge. I love it. But once again, I do live in Japan, so, I don't think I have to run into those hardcore vegan edge people. So maybe if I did, I would like it less. I don't know. But also, I love non-alcoholic beers, and I love non-alcoholic wines, because, I don't think you can drink for so long without developing a taste for the beverages outside and independently of the alcohol. All right, well, that's the video. I know I rambled. I'm sorry about that. I'm gonna cut it off here. If you'd like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please like the video. Please subscribe, and please comment down below. Are you straight edge? Are you sober? How do you feel about non-alcoholic beverages? Please leave your thoughts in the comments below, and please be civil to each other. All right, everybody. Thank you very much.